this is Mark Kelly, who also does a fucking masterful job at handling this.
Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to come back to the topic of the day here, the signal chain as reported by The Atlantic. Ms. Gabbard and Mr. Ratcliffe, you each testified that there was no information operational in nature, no classified information. So I want to ask.
Also, that's a lie. There was operational information. Goldberg has that detail. He blurted out. Secondarily, no classified. There is doing a lot of heavy lifting. They use this a lot. Tulsi and Gabbard and Rat's ass, both of them use this like it's not classified because it had yet to be classified. But the understanding would be that this entire conversation would, of course, qualify as fucking classified. They're not going to have it on a lawn. They view their fucking phones as mini skiffs because they're assholes.
Each of you just a series of, just respond yes or no. I'll start with Ms. Gabbard. In the signal chain that we have been talking about, was there any mention of a target in Yemen?
I don't remember mention.
Yes, there was. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert. Yeah, there fucking well was. I don't remember sorry, and Biden was old and forgetful, and that's why he couldn't be brought before a trial. That's why that was his get out of jail free card, was that he would sit down and people would just believe that he was a forgetful old man and be forgiving about him. And these assholes who just showed up, young, new people, fresh in the job, a whole new breed of adults coming in, another generation that are coming in here, and they're like, I don't know, there's a lot going on.
Specific targets.
Any generic target?
I believe there was discussion around
the idea that children are our future. I believe someone said, treat them well and let them lead the way. I believe in a thing called love. I believe.
Targets in general.
Mr. Ratcliffe.
I think that's consistent with my recollection. Again, I don't have access to that.
Was there?
Yeah, oh my fucking God. Wait. Your phone's on the desk, you dumb motherfucker. It's right there. Also, the idea that these assholes showed up for this hearing and don't have the article in their printed materials right in front of them with the part highlighted that says, hey, the copy of the shit that he has says this. Right? This I don't recall shit is not going to cut it. Never mind the fact that, again, these fuckers are not Reagan in 1988.
Was there any mention, Ms. Gabbard, of a weapon or weapons system?
I don't recall specific weapons systems being named.
I'm not talking about specific, any weapon or weapon system.
I don't recall specific names.
The answer is yes. Again, spoiler alert. And they are going to get a copy of this. So you're going to see, that's why they're saying the I believe and I don't recall so much, because they can't answer the question without catching shit. And this is them basically doing everything they can to protect Trump.
Of systems or weapons being used or named within the
Well, I'm not asking whether, I don't want you to tell me what the specific weapon was, but any weapon at all. Mr. Ratcliffe, same question.
I don't recall.
How about anything about timing?
By the way, this was like a fucking week and a half ago. This is not, I mean, when we're talking about like Iran-Contra and shit like that, months, in many cases, years had passed before this shit came up in committee. And unless you went back and reread it, even if you reread it after a couple of years, you'd be like, oh, that's what happened? I don't remember that happening. You could legally, even though you had already reread your own notes or contemporaneous record of what had actually happened, you could still say under oath, I don't recall because I read that and I don't remember that happening. I read it, but that doesn't mean I remember. So I don't have to leave the I read it, but I don't remember it as it was written to I don't recall. You can legally get away with that. This was fucking a week ago Saturday.
Ms. Gabbard.
I don't recall specific timing.
Was there any
I
mention?
won't get into the detail of the conversation, but obviously there was a significant amount of planning and internal discussions that had occurred prior to and outside of this Signal chat.
So I don't remember what was in the Signal chat because we were talking about this on our Facebook chat group as well. And we were passing notes in class.
Mr. Ratcliffe, you're nodding your head. Any mention of any military unit whatsoever? Mr. Ratcliffe.
Not that
I got to say, Mark Kelly has that look on his face like, I've seen it. I went to the skiff this morning.
recall.
Ms. Gabbard.
Not that I recall.
Okay.
I don't recall.
So I understand that DoD policy prohibits discussion of even what is called controlled unclassified information, or CUI.
Right. That's the stuff that should be classified, but it's not to the point where it's going to be disseminated. You're still in, you're either creating the information, you're finding the information out live or whatever, and eventually that will get out. And that's why you have these kind of conversations in areas and in spaces where people can't hear it while it goes on, because you know full well you will be discussing things that are classified. Somebody in there, Hegseth in this case, knows something. He's passing a detail along, classified information that is classified. It is only for the people in this specific working group that he believes or thought was only made up of people that had access or were available to, were legally allowed to read classified stuff. And you will hear that there's a little bit of layoff of blame where they say Hegseth has the right to declassify stuff or state the level of classification. So by him blathering it in this chat group, that magically declassifies it because it's a web app and anybody could be on it. But we're not going to release it because it's classified.
On unsecured devices, are both of you aware of that DoD policy?
I haven't read that policy.
That's not what he asked you. I mean, nice try, though. I don't care how you heard it. I haven't read that policy means somebody told it to you. Somebody mentioned it to you. And by the way, if you're DNI, how the fuck do you not know that you shouldn't be using unsecure devices and apps off the fucking Apple Store to discuss battle plans?
Familiar with the DoD policy, but I would say that the Secretary of Defense is the original classification authority for DoD and deciding.
That's okay. So that's them passing it off that Hegseth put this in there. So by putting it in a Signal chat, he's kind of declassifying it, kind of like he obviously thought it could be passed around to reporters because anybody could be in this fucking thing, as you've seen.
What would be classified information?
Ms. Gabbard, does the intelligence community have a policy that prohibits discussion of controlled unclassified information?
Yes.
It does. Okay. Controlled unclassified information, according to DoD, includes information that is information that has not been approved for public release. Would you, of what's been disclosed publicly of the Signal chain, would either of you feel that
Did that freeze or something? Did the image freeze? Sorry about that. Hold on one second. I don't know why this would be. It looks like it's freezing on my end. Maybe it isn't on yours. Reload the page, see if it does it. Nope. I'm going to go back to here. Maybe it'll pop back in. We'll see. I don't know why the audio was good, but it seemed to freeze, right? Yeah, there we go. Now it's back. Sorry. Whoops.
Nature, no classified information. So I want to ask each of you just a series of, just respond yes or no. I'll start with Ms. Gabbard. In the signal chain that we have been talking about, was there any mention of a target?
Sorry, let me go
Yemen?
back to here.
Recall specific names of systems or weapons.
Go back to here.
Ms. Gabbard.
I don't recall specific timing.
Was there any
I won't
mention?
get into the detail of the conversation, but
We were already
You're nodding
done.
your head. Are you aware of that DOD policy?
Okay, there's the.
The Secretary of Defense is the original.
Unclassified.
Yeah, okay.
What would be classified information?
Ms.
Yeah, so that's where they try to pass it off to Hegseth. They blame him because he automatically declassified it. That's where they're going to go later.
Gabbard, does the intelligence community have a policy that prohibits discussion of control?
Somebody was asking, were they trying to classify this as a, like, did they try to set Jeffrey Goldberg up and claim he's a threat? No. I got to say, a lot of this has to do with his own. Let's see if I can get this to see where you can see this bit a little bit better. There we go. This was not an active anything. This was just a fuck up. I mean, it'd be great if it was somehow conspiratorial and really impressive in that way, but I got to tell you, it's really just them screwing up. It was just that stupid. Like they had just the wrong fucking name, and they didn't check, and it was just lazy, weak, and stupid. Now, one of the reasons Jeffrey Goldberg got out of the chat was because he had obviously talked to one of the lawyers at the Atlantic, probably when he saw this, and said, "Hey, what's our legal hang if I stay in this chat room now that I realize after that attack that it is real?" And they went, "Well, yeah, you're probably, if now that you know you're not supposed to be in there, it could be a problem for you. So you should probably leave. That said, when you leave, everything that you have seen up till that point is fair game." So that's more than likely how this played out.
Unclassified information.
yes.
It does. Okay. Controlled unclassified information, according to DOD, includes information that has not been approved for public release. Would you, of what's been disclosed publicly of the signal chain, would either of you feel that that would be approved for public release? Ms. Gabbard.
The discussion that took place in that Signal chat group was a conversation reflecting national security leaders and the vice president around.
Yeah, we know what it was. Is it appropriate for the conversation that happened there to be public? Or to even be shared with a journalist by accident, friend or foe? The answer is no, dum-dum.
The president's objectives.
So yes or no, would you approve that for public release?
I don't feel I can answer that question here.
Oh, shit. I don't feel like you can answer that question at all, asshole. No shit. But let me tell you something. You're under oath. And by the way, that's why. Can I just say that's why she feels like she cannot answer this in this venue, wherever. That's why. You want to know why she feels like she can't? And what was her exact wording? Son of a bitch. What was her exact wording?
Public release?
I don't feel I can answer that question here.
I don't feel like I can answer this question here. Why would that be? Why? What would be the reasoning behind it? What would be the reason behind that? I'll tell you what it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's because she's under oath. That's it. Not, I'll embarrass the president. Not Pete Hegseth is a friend of mine, and I feel everybody should get a mulligan where they could have gotten some soldiers killed. Who in their life hasn't? She can't answer it here because she's under oath. And the truth would get everybody on that panel in deep shit and would get Hegseth fired or put in jail because there are probably other signal groups where they are doing the same thing about a myriad of stuff. If they have one working group on a particular strike on the Houthis, you don't think they have a Hezbollah one? You don't think they have an Iran working group? You don't think they have a Israel-Gaza working group or a fucking Russia-Ukraine for that fucking matter? The next question is, are you a part of any other signal groups like this where details similar to this are being talked about? That's why she can't answer it. Democrats on the panels, please ask them, and there will be more rounds of this. How many signal groups are you a part of where you discuss materials similar to or of the same, level of intel and discussion? Is every working group in this White House on fucking Signal? If hackers know that one is, they know that to check for other ones. Under oath, are you a part of other signal groups discussing similar elements of like theater war on terror, the cartels, anything?
Because of the nature of this hearing?
Because of the nature of a private discussion that took.
Fuck you. Yeah, it was. Why is it private? So it's just private because it's personal. It's like It's like this isn't. She's not worried about the fact that they're leaking national security and defense secrets. It's just sort of like a violation of their HIPAA rights. They talked about what flavor of baby aspirin they prefer.
Place between individual leaders in our government.
It would make sense that you would not approve it for public release, wouldn't it?
There are other factors that would go into that consideration.
Mr. Ratcliffe.
Yeah, but there are other factors that would go into your thinking because he asked you if you would do it.
Yes or no?
I wouldn't approve the release of classified information. Again, as I've said,
I'm not talking about classified information, Mr. Ratcliffe. I'm talking about information that has not been approved for public release. That is information that is considered controlled.
By the way, this is Trump's fallback as well, that there was no classified stuff on it. Not stuff that wouldn't have been classified had they known they were talking about it. And Hegseth said classified level stuff that should have made the entire conversation button down. There are times, by the way, when the government and the intelligence services will be talking about stuff in the abstract, and somebody will say, oh, P.S., this just happened, and the whole place locks down because those details don't need to be discussed, in the open.
Unclassified information.
The principles that would have been on that would have been individuals capable of approving that for public release.
Do you?
You mean like the vice president? So let me get this straight. The vice president can declassify things. I know Obama gave Biden that right. And Biden certainly had it as president. So all the times when Trump was saying, I had the right to do that under the Presidential Records Act, but Biden didn't because he was the vice president, they're saying that everybody in their particular area, their category, has the right and ability to declassify things for public consumption if they so choose. And by dumping it into a signal thread, automatically that declassifies it because the quality of the security of signal is such shit that you wouldn't say anything in there that you wouldn't want available for public consumption. That's his fucking fallback. Good Lord, what an asshole.
I got 20 seconds. The deliberation as to whether or not we should launch a strike on another country, would you consider that classified information, Ms. Gabbard?
Well, the information was not classified.
Fuck you, lady. God, just look at the weaselly look on her face, too. Yeah, I agree, Denise. Why not just say you fucked up? I agree. I would say, why not just say Pete fucked up and let Pete, Mr. Macho Warfighter with his fucking Crusader tattoos, take his fucking lumps like everybody else. As a matter of fact, the idea that Pete Hegseth isn't taking responsibility for this, or Waltz himself isn't going, this isn't Tulsi Gabbard's problem. I'm the one who accidentally brought them in. And Hegseth going, I'm the one who actually said stuff in the chat that doesn't belong there. It won't happen again. Trump would let him fucking slide. He would. But this is all, I mean, we hear all the time that the cover-up is worse than the crime. No, it's not. The crime is always worse than the cover-up unless you murder somebody to hide the information. But the cover-up is a lot more embarrassing than the crime. It requires more people debasing themselves in an attempt to, to at the very least obfuscate what actually happened.
I'm not talking about this. I'm just talking about deliberation.
Going forward, are you going to be this fucking stupid, lady? That's what he means.
As from principles as to whether or not we should launch a strike on another country. Would you consider that classified information? I'm not talking about what happened this week.
There are other factors that would go into determining that classification.
Mr. Ratcliffe, the deliberation between
what she said.
Principles in our national security apparatus about whether or not to strike another country, would you consider that to be classified information?
Pre-decisional strike deliberation should be conducted through classified channels.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right. So Hegseth fucked up. There you go. One actual answer from Ratcliffe at the tail end of this. Dunking on Tulsi Gabbard, I guess. And again, Ratcliffe doesn't get any fucking points for that, by the way, because he doesn't set policy. He lives by policy. He's the head of the fucking CIA. And the fact that he didn't act that way when this shit was going down and now says that's absolutely how things should be done is just a way of, it's just a salvage attempt. Yikes. You're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc.